I've been tied to the booths since I was a child. From the age of 12, my life was already decided for me. There was no room for my own choices. At 15, I stayed with the booths for a period of time. At 18, I chose a major I didn't like just to satisfy both families. At 20, I married Rachel. By 23, Rachel had Jenny, and raising her became my responsibility. In just 10 years, my life was completely bound to the booths. Here we were, two people with no real affection, forced together by a family arrangement, living without freedom. "Rachel, let's get divorced." In the middle of the night, she asked coldly, "What's gotten into you now?" This was the second time I'd brought up divorce, and once again, she responded harshly. Over the past 10 years, Rachel had always been polite. Even after marriage, that politeness never changed. We were supposed to be husband and wife, yet it never felt like it. We were more like business partners, simply fulfilling the roles written into a contract. In truth, that's all our marriage certificate ever was, a contract. "I'm not joking. I'm serious. I can't keep living this way. Rachel, please let me go." My calm tone irritated her, but instead of getting angry, she paused, then knelt in front of me. "Tell me, what did I do to upset you?" she asked patiently, the same way she always had. It felt like she was just trying to soothe me. "It's not about you," I said. "I just don't want this anymore." I pulled the divorce agreement I'd already prepared from the drawer and handed it to her. "This is the agreement. See if there is anything you want to add. If not, just sign it. Jenny is still young. Let's not make this ugly." Rachel didn't even glance at the papers. She tossed them aside, her expression darkening, her gentle tone disappearing. "Nick, you know Jenny is too young to live without her father. Just tell me what you want. As long as I can give it to you, I will. Please stop this." "What if I want your heart?" I asked with a faint smile, watching her expression change exactly as I expected. Discomfort flashed across her face. Her voice lost its firmness. "If we divorce, who gets custody of Jenny? You choose first, or let her decide." I'd always been the one decisions were made for. This time was no different. "I want to be with Mom." Jenny's voice suddenly came from behind us. I turned around and saw her standing up the stairs, rubbing her eyes. I already knew her answer. Seeing that I didn't respond, Rachel stood up and picked her up. "Sorry, honey, did we wake you?" She comforted Jenny gently, patting her back, then cast a smug glance at me. "Jenny," she said softly, "if you could only choose one parent to live with, who would it be?" I already knew the answer, but I still hoped, just once. "I want Mom," Jenny said without hesitation. I'd be lying if it didn't hurt, but I wasn't angry. I ruffled her hair. "All right, I'll respect your choice. When I'm not around, listen to your mom and grandpa, okay?" I sent her back to bed. "Good night, Mom. Good night, Dad." Jenny didn't linger. She hopped off Rachel's lap and returned to her room. Watching her small figure disappear felt like my heart was bleeding, but there was no turning back now. This was my only chance at freedom. "So," I said quietly, "any other issues now that Jenny's settled?" "No. Just don't regret this. Finish your tantrum and come back soon." Rachel signed her name without even looking at the agreement and headed upstairs to the guest room. It was both amusing and sad that even now she thought I was just acting out. I couldn't sleep. Under the bright moonlight, I went into the yard and looked up at the sky. The brightest star seemed to wink at me, and I couldn't help but smile genuinely. 15 years of my prime, completely out of my control since Dad passed away. Nothing I did was ever my own choice. Now I was finally free. "Dad, you'd be proud, right?" By morning, Jenny had already gone to school. Surprisingly, Rachel hadn't gone to work. She sat at the table as if waiting for me. "Morning, you're up. Have some milk first. Breakfast will be ready soon." She put down the newspaper and stood up, looking like a caring wife waiting for her husband to wake up. This version of Rachel felt strangely unfamiliar. I glanced at the milk, but didn't drink it. "I'll skip breakfast. Since you're free today, let's finalize the paperwork." Annoyed, she didn't argue. She grabbed her coat and headed out. I took the prepared documents and followed. Getting divorced was messier than getting married, but soon it was done. Holding the dark red folder in my hands, I felt a heavy weight lift from my chest. On the drive back, Rachel was behind the wheel again. This time, I chose the back seat. After a long silence, she finally spoke, looking at me through the rearview mirror. "If you're mad because I forgot our wedding anniversary, I'm sorry. That was my mistake. I won't defend myself. I promise it won't happen again." I said nothing. Yesterday was our anniversary, and my 28th birthday. She hadn't remembered. She hadn't even known. Late that night, she came home drunk as she stumbled in. I helped her on the couch and poured her a glass of water. "Sorry for waking you up," she said. I thought she was apologizing for missing our anniversary and my birthday, but she never mentioned either. I knew she had completely forgotten. Was the client really that hard to deal with? Why did you drink so much? I asked while helping her out of her coat. Normally, I never asked about her work, but that day I wanted to know what kept her so busy. She looked a bit uneasy, then explained patiently. "It was just a night out with friends. You should go to bed. I'll wash up." Then she added, "Don't wait up for me anymore. Go to sleep if you're tired." Whether I agreed or not, she headed upstairs. "Rachel, let's get divorced." I said it calmly, not moving from my seat. She froze. Her sudden pause pulled my thoughts back to the present. Without hesitation, I went upstairs and packed my things, just a few documents in a small suitcase, just like when my mom sent me to the booths all those years ago. Rachel caught up to me as I was about to leave. She looked panicked. "Nick, what are you doing? Where are you going?" I looked closely at the woman I'd been with for nearly a decade. It was the first time I'd truly seen her up close while she was fully awake. "I'm moving out," I said plainly. "You didn't think I'd stay for lunch, did you?" Maybe it was my tone, or maybe one word hit a nerve. Her expression darkened. "What about the kid?" How ironic. Even now, she tried to use our child to keep me. She must have forgotten that last night, our daughter had already chosen her. "It's all written clearly in the divorce papers. Custody goes to you. I leave with nothing." Did you forget, Rachel, or did you just not care? "Thank you for taking care of me all these years," I said calmly. "Let's part ways. Unless something unexpected happens, we probably won't meet again. I've never asked you for anything, but today, as a father, I ask you one last thing. No matter what happens in the future, whether you start a new family or not, please treat Jenny well. Don't let her end up like us." I didn't look back at her grim face. I walked downstairs with my bags. "Where are you going? I'll drive you," Rachel said, following me and reaching for my luggage. I stepped aside smoothly. "No need. I've already called for a ride." "Don't forget to pick up Jenny tonight." Thinking of my daughter, my heart ached. I'd raised her myself from the day she was born. Yet, no matter how much I did, she always chose her mother. That night, I booked a ticket to N-City, my father's hometown. After Dad passed away, and after my grandparents died, I never went back. I didn't even know if it was still the same. I lost my father at 12. At 15, I was sent to the booths. At 20, I married Rachel. I watched her give birth, and I raised the child. Through all of it, no one ever asked if I wanted this life. For 8 years, I was the perfect husband, son-in-law, and father. Everywhere I went, people praised me as a model example. Half my success came from my father's influence, the other half came from Rachel's father's guidance. I was the ideal Booth son-in-law, every move carefully calculated. And yet, despite all that, I never won my wife's heart or earned true respect from her family. I was always an outsider. Even the child I raised with my own hands saw me as second to her mother. Pulled back from my thoughts, the plane landed smoothly. Many years had passed, and N-City was no longer how I remembered it. My father's hometown was a quiet, rainy village, about an hour from the city center. I didn't linger. I booked a rideshare and headed straight there. In the south, drizzle is common. Soon a light rain began to fall, and the driver slowed down. He chatted warmly with me along the way. I was a bit carsick, so I only responded now and then, but the time passed quickly. We arrived before long. Seeing I wasn't local, the kind driver helped with my luggage and offered some advice. Young man, take care when you're on your own. Be cautious. Avoid deserted places, don't ride in strangers' cars, and enjoy yourself. Thanks, I will. But I'm not an outsider. I grew up here. My words were true, and his warmth deeply touched me. It was the first time in many years that someone had genuinely shown concern for me. I really had grown up here. Before my dad passed away, we spent most of our time in this village. It wasn't until I was 10 that we moved back to G-City. Instead of going to my father's old house, I booked a room at a small local inn. Here, the wind was gentle, the rain warm. My heart felt light. I was free. I wandered around until late at night before returning. That night, I was no one's husband and no one's father. Just me. Just Nick. I slept deeply, not even remembering the last time I'd slept so well. Unexpectedly, I woke up to more than 10 missed calls and countless unread messages. For a moment, I thought something serious had happened, but when I saw that familiar number, my heart sank. Rachael. In 7 years of marriage, she had rarely contacted me, yet after the divorce, she nearly blew up my phone overnight. I didn't call back or read the messages. I was about to visit my grandparents' graves and didn't want to get dragged into anything. Before I could even eat breakfast, Jenny called. I couldn't bring myself to be cold to her. "Dad, where are you? You promised to be with me for the family activity today. What am I supposed to do without you?" For a moment, I thought she missed me, but it was just the same complaints and accusations as always. The warmth in my heart cooled instantly, and my voice lost its softness. "Jenny, listen to me. From the moment you chose your mom, I stopped being your guardian. Your mom and I are divorced, and I've left G-City. If you need anything, ask your mom or your grandparents. Don't look for me. I won't be seeing you again." She burst into tears as soon as I finished. "Mom, I told you Dad isn't coming back. He doesn't want me. It's all your fault." I hung up before hearing anything else. With Rachael and the Booths around, Jenny would be fine. She'd forget me eventually and move on. We all chose our paths. If you don't cut things off decisively, you only suffer longer. I couldn't afford to soften my heart again. In the days that followed, the Booths didn't call. I didn't check in on them either. I only sent my mother a brief message with a photo of the divorce papers. Then I changed my number, deleted my social accounts, and began the life I'd always wanted. For nearly 30 years, I'd lived for the Greens and the Booths. From now on, I only wanted to live for myself. Leaving In-City, I went to X-City, the place my dad and I once promised to visit. They say it's the closest place to heaven. Dad once wanted to come here to pray for my grandparents. Now I was here to pray after Dad himself had become eternal. "Dad, I made it to X-City, for us. You must have found Grandpa and Grandma by now, right? Dad, I have a secret to tell you. I'm free now. I'm no longer trapped. I'll live well in this life, and if there's another one, I still want to be your son, just not a child of the Greens. Please tell Grandpa and Grandma I came home for a few days. Everything's fine, just a little less lively without you." "Dad, I have to go. I don't know where yet, but I won't be returning to G-City. Don't worry, I'll be okay. Goodbye, Dad." With 3 kneels and 9 bows, I hung prayer flags and spun the prayer wheels, fulfilling my father's wish. That night, I dreamed of my grandparents and my dad. They looked at me lovingly, smiling. Just like before, Dad patted my head and congratulated me on escaping hardship. Only sweetness lies ahead. Take care of yourself. Live bravely. If you miss Dad, just look up at the sky. The smiling cloud, the brightest star, that's me watching over you. We're born as independent individuals. Don't grieve for those not worth it. Don't hold grudges. Look forward. Walk ahead, don't look back. In the dream, I was smiling, happy. But when I woke up, my pillow was soaked with tears. It was the first time I dreamed of my father since getting married. Maybe he really was disappointed in me back then. That's why he never came. Now that I'd finally said goodbye to the past, I saw him again. His long-winded advice only showed how reluctant he was and how deep his love ran. I packed my bags, ready for the next journey. That's when Rachael appeared. It had been about 20 days since I last saw her. She was still dressed in black, but she looked like she'd aged overnight. "Oh, right, you get altitude sickness easily. Have you had enough fun? Let's go home." For a split second, I almost felt sorry for her, but the moment she spoke, that feeling vanished. "If you're sick, go get treatment. If you've lost your mind, get it checked. The booths have plenty of resources. You'll figure it out." "All you talk about is fun. When did you ever see me having fun? Our relationship now barely qualifies as acquaintances. Rachael, you're overstepping." I was already irritated that she'd tracked my itinerary, and she still showed up with that arrogant, disrespectful attitude. I was looking for somewhere to vent, and she walked right into it. "No, I didn't mean that," she said hurriedly. "I really came to take you home. I'm sorry, I take back what I just said." Seeing my anger, Rachael clearly panicked and began stumbling over her words. I didn't want to drag things out, and I didn't want to make a scene, so I forced myself to stay calm. "Rachael, I'll say this one last time. We're done. Go back to where you came from and don't bother me again." "Your altitude sickness is serious. This isn't somewhere you should be. Go back." I needed to leave as well. Every word I said was sincere. I did love Rachael, but that love belonged to the past. When she missed Jenny's birth, the 100-day celebration, and our first wedding anniversary, I lost all hope. Once I decide to end something, there's no turning back. I've been fair to both the Greens and the Booths. From now on, I need to live for myself. "Nick, Jenny misses you a lot. She cries every day while looking at your pictures. For the child's sake, will you come back with me?" Seeing that I wasn't moved, Rachael began using Jenny to tug at my emotions, speaking in a tone that was unusually gentle. But she seemed to forget something. Jenny was the one who no longer wanted me. In time, she would forget me. "Go back," I said, "and don't come here again." Rachael probably never been treated so coldly before. Coupled with her severe altitude sickness, she couldn't take it and collapsed. After taking her to the hospital, I didn't stay. Luckily, her assistant had helped her with errands over the years, so leaving a contact number finally proved useful. I first met Rachael when I was 17. She had just broken up with someone, and I caught the fleeting emotion in her eyes when she looked at me. She treated me incredibly well. How well? She'd do anything for me, respected me, protected me, and stepped in whenever her father made things difficult. But on the day of our engagement, Rachael made things clear. "There's no love," she said, "just duty. Nick, we're here because of family expectations and an arranged marriage. I'll respect you and take responsibility, but I don't love you. We're family, not lovers." Though I was technically an adult, I was already trapped by restrictions, unable to resist. Numb and passive, I got engaged and went off to college. Everything that followed unfolded naturally, pleasing both families, everyone except me. After marriage, Rachael did give me respect and fulfilled her responsibilities. After Jenny was born, our relationship naturally shifted into one of family. I was the dad, she was the mom. In front of our child, we played a harmonious couple. In front of others, we appeared affectionate. People called us a perfect match, a power couple, equals standing side by side. That praise became a heavy shackle, binding me for nearly a decade. Had Rachael's lies been not so obvious, I might have continued living in ignorance. But what finally broke us wasn't a third party, it was Rachael herself. I chose divorce because she lied too many times. That night, she came home smelling strongly of alcohol. Whether it was intentional, I don't know, but the scent lingering on her collar and the men's cologne that wasn't mine told me everything. It was a clear signal for me to step aside. Rachel's sudden appearance completely disrupted my plans, forcing me to rethink everything. Instead of returning to City N, I stayed in a beach town I loved. I needed time to unwind and think about what came next. For a long time, I'd been obsessed with going to graduate school. I wanted to be an educated, knowledgeable man like my father. But being a husband and father consumed most of my time. The Booth's social events also required their son-in-law to be present. One thing led to another, and before I knew it, 5 or 6 years had slipped by. Thankfully, I never stopped learning. My mom deposited money into my account every month. While staying home with the kids, I made some investments that performed well enough to support me. Still, I didn't want to be a failure. I wanted to pursue my own value. 3 months before the divorce, I passed both the IELTS and TOEFL with high scores. Recently, I received an offer from a graduate school I'd always dreamed of attending. Next, I would go to a new country, return to school, and start over. 3 days before leaving, I quietly returned to G-City. I wanted to share the good news with my mom and say goodbye. I also couldn't completely let go of the child who once saw me as her whole world. I just wanted to know if Jenny was doing okay. Even if she didn't love me anymore, I hoped she could live a happy, fulfilling life. That year, right after graduating, I moved back home. Rachael was pregnant, and living with the Booths for those few months was suffocating. After Jenny was born, Rachael and I moved out. Her father frequently visited to see his granddaughter, but otherwise focused on his career and social life. After I recovered, I took on most of the childcare and household work. I was busy, but rarely felt tired. Watching my child grow every day filled me with contentment. But ever since Jenny started kindergarten 2 years ago, she'd been spending more and more time with the Booths, sometimes staying there for 3 to 5 days at a time. My once clingy child gradually grew distant. To her, her grandparents were loving, her mom was hardworking and admirable. And me? I was the one who was never serious, the strict one. I still remember the day, 6 months ago, when I first mentioned divorce to Rachael. She dropped her usual gentle tone and accused me of being idle and stirring up trouble. The daughter I'd spoiled since birth stood against me.
"Dad, you're being too much," she said. "Mom dotes on you, goes along with everything you say, and takes care of everything inside and outside the house. And you just laze around like a bum, living a life of luxury. What more do you want?" That was the first time I saw disdain and disgust in the eyes of such a young child. Exactly those two expressions. Jenny looked at me like I was a stranger, without a trace of love or admiration. In the months that followed, she made her feelings clear. Whenever Rachael wasn't home, she stayed at the old house, telling he not to pick her up unless it was urgent. What finally made me give up was her choice that night. 5 isn't 3. She's aware now. Somewhere deep down, she probably believes her dad can't give her the life she wants. So, our father-daughter bond, it was over. This time, she wouldn't know I was there. I only wanted to see her once more, to remember what she looked like. From then on, we would live our separate lives. I disguised myself and went straight to Jenny's kindergarten. Before going, I secretly contacted her teacher, Ba Huang, to explain the situation. Getting on the campus was easy. "Jenny's dad," Ba Huang said. "She hasn't been herself lately. In class, she just stares off into space. The lively, bubbly child she used to be has become unusually quiet. It's almost worrisome." He was around my age and popular with the kids. He even pulled up security footage to show me Jenny's recent behavior. "Some things have happened at home recently," I said. "She may need time to adjust. Please keep an eye on her, and if anything comes up, inform her mom or grandparents right away. Also, please keep my visit today between us. Don't tell anyone, not even Jenny. I'm on a business trip. She can't know."
I didn't mention the divorce. Both families weren't ordinary, and the web of interests between them was complicated. I didn't need extra trouble. Through the monitor, I could see Jenny wasn't pretending. She did seem a little down, just as Ba Huang said, but I wasn't self-centered enough to believe it was because of me. Although Jenny was Rachel's daughter, aside from a small dimple when she smiled, she looked exactly like Rachel. Serious, almost like a little old soul. But when she smiled, she was like a breath of fresh air. The Booths' genes were strong. The women were beautiful, the men handsome, and their IQs exceptional. The only flaw? Their EQs were low, unless they truly cared about you. After seeing Jenny and saying goodbye to my dad, I didn't go back to the Greens or the Booths. Instead, I stayed near the airport to prepare for my flight to the U.S. the next morning. I always knew Rachel was capable, but I didn't expect her to move so fast. Less than 30 minutes after checking into the hotel, Rachel appeared, with Jenny. Seeing their identical faces and matching outfits, I was momentarily stunned. Rachel? Dressed like this? What are you doing here? I asked after a brief daze. Remembering how everything between us had changed, my voice was cold, stripped of any warmth. Before Rachel could respond, Jenny broke free from her hand and ran towards me. "Dad, I've missed you." In the past, I would have immediately knelt down and hugged this child who was already up to my waist. But this time, I quietly stepped back, just enough to keep her from falling, yet far enough to avoid her touch. "Stop. Stay back. I'm not your dad anymore." My flight was the next day. I didn't want any last-minute trouble. More than that, I didn't want to give her hope only to shatter it again. My tone was firm. Jenny froze. She looked from her mother to me, then burst into tears. "Dad, it's me, Jenny. Don't you recognize me? Mom, tell Dad who I am. Did he forget, like people on TV?" Shaken out of her daze by Jenny's cries, Rachel knelt down and pulled her into her arms. "Dad didn't forget. You've just grown so big. Dad can't pick you up anymore. Look, I can. See? It's the same." She comforted Jenny while signaling me to play along. Rachel's voice, softer and deeper than I'd ever heard, made everything click. She wasn't incapable of love. She just didn't love me. But I'm Nick. I've always been rebellious. So what if the child was born to her? We're divorced. Why should I pretend? I repeated myself calmly. "Jenny, listen carefully. I don't have amnesia. I know who you are. You're Rachel's daughter. You used to be my daughter too, but not anymore. Don't call me Dad again and stop bothering me." Then I turned to Rachel. "And you? Don't think I don't know what you're doing. Since you're here, let's be clear. The child was given to you. You're her only guardian now. I hope you take responsibility as her mother. You don't have to do everything yourself, but at the very least, give her companionship. Her teacher said she's been down lately, always daydreaming. We both know why. BR Group is huge. You have plenty of capable managers. There's no reason you need to handle everything personally. Spend more time with her, do crafts, play games, read, exercise, everything you pushed onto me. Don't keep skipping out on those things." After saying all that, I didn't dare look at Jenny's tear-streaked face, but I clearly saw the confusion and anger on Rachel's. She became a mother in minutes. I spent 5 years raising that child for her. If I didn't say this now, she might truly believe that feeding a child was all there was to parenting. I ignored her struggling expression and pushed them towards the door. "It's late. Take her back. Don't come here again." I slammed the door shut, leaving them knocking in vain. When their footsteps finally faded, I could no longer hold back my tears. "I'm sorry, Jenny. Your dad had to push you away. Grow up strong. Grow up brave." I don't remember when I fell asleep. When I woke, it was already 6, 3 hours left before my flight. After a quick shower, I decided to visit a nearby mall, maybe buy a few things. I also wanted one last look at the city I'd lived in for nearly 30 years. Who knows when I'd return? Fate, it seemed, loved to toy with me. Before I could leave, a notification popped up. My flight was delayed. That was manageable.
What wasn't was opening the door and seeing Rachel's blank face again. Already irritated, I couldn't believe she had been nerved to show up. To avoid disturbing others, I pulled her inside. "Rachel, why are you here today?" She had a bad habit. Whenever she was in the wrong, she either hesitated or said something ridiculous. This time was no exception. I didn't let it slide. "Weren't you supposed to see a doctor last time? Looks like you didn't take it seriously. First you talked nonsense, now you can't even speak properly. Do you act like this with him too?" "Him? Who are you talking about?" she said, no longer stuttering, now playing dumb and sounding impatient. "Alex," I said coldly, "the one you're always thinking about. What, too scared to admit it? Or am I wrong? If she's going to chase after me, she'd better face it honestly."
"There's nothing like that. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't have time to waste. Why are you here?" Her quick denial caught me off guard. This bold woman now only stirred contempt in me. "I'm here to take you home," Rachel said cautiously, more carefully than ever. "I admit I ignored you in the past. I'm sorry. My dad forced this marriage, and I never truly acted like a wife. That's my fault. But Nick, whether you believe it or not, you do matter to me. I just don't understand love. I don't know how to love." If she'd shown real regret or simply admitted she didn't love me, maybe I would have spared her a second more. But her denial exhausted me. "No, Rachel, it's not that you can't love. You know love better than anyone. You love your parents, your child, and the person in your heart. You just can't love me. It's obvious why you're here. The kid's hard to handle, and you're stuck without your free babysitter. You're trying to drag me back. But I'm a person, not an object. I owe you nothing. You've already taken more than 10 years of my life. Isn't that enough? I've always been the perfect Booth. Honest, hardworking, never overstepping. Did I offend your ancestors in some past life, commit some unforgivable sin to deserve this? Even after the divorce, you still won't leave me alone." By the end, I was sobbing uncontrollably. I never understood why she married me without loving me, or why she kept hurting me when I was the one suffering. I did everything right, yet she never truly saw me. It was her indifference that led to her father's contempt, to the way the kids changed every time they came back. More than anything, I despised Rachel. She was the real villain. Seeing my resolve, she left in humiliation, her apologies meaningless. From that moment on, I knew I wanted nothing to do with her ever again. At noon, after nearly a 3-hour delay, the plane finally took off. When we broke through the clouds, my heart finally settled. From now on, I wasn't anyone's accessory. I was just me, just Nick. Maybe it was the tension finally releasing, but I soon drifted into sleep. In my dream, my dad appeared again, smiling, wishing me well, regretting our goodbye. Then Jenny's face appeared. From her birth to her tear-streaked face yesterday, scenes flashed through my mind like a slideshow. Her cries of "Daddy" pierced my heart. Just as I reached out to hold her, turbulence jolted me awake. It was only a dream. Morning light poured in, a fresh beginning. After hours of flying, the plane finally landed. A gentle breeze brushed past me, carrying the scent of freedom. Thanks to years of support from 2 families, my college enrollment went smoothly. Then came the busy chaos of finding housing, shopping, and setting up my new place. Life was busy, but not overwhelming. It felt fulfilling. At school, I picked up old hobbies and joined various activities: piano, violin solos, debate competitions, even national contests. A full life brought me joy. Other than occasionally missing my child, I no longer spent sleepless nights. Time passed quickly. Soon, winter came again. Back home, they were preparing for the new year. I hadn't contacted anyone or checked on their lives these past months. The Booths were no longer my concern. My mom had her own family now.
It seemed everyone was doing just fine without me. 3 days before New Year's Eve, I started preparing too. It was my first time celebrating alone, and I didn't want it to feel empty. I planned to visit a welfare home and a senior center to see the elderly and the kids. Maybe I'd even adopt a dog for company. New Year's Eve. As I hummed while preparing dinner, the doorbell rang. I didn't know anyone here. At this hour, it had to be property management. I checked the video doorbell. As expected, it was Rachael. I didn't open the door. I called management to deal with it and went back to making dumplings, enjoying the comfort of staying busy. Soon, the doorbell rang again. Just as irritation arose, I heard a familiar voice. It was my teacher. She's Chinese, fluent in Mandarin, a graceful, efficient woman who moved to the U.S. with her parents when she was young. She's 5 years my senior, already a professor while I'm still a student. We haven't known each other long, but she's left a strong impression. Humble, polite, composed, attentive. With her help and encouragement, I've managed to adapt quickly to the intense academic load. My teacher didn't come inside. She said she didn't want to inconvenience me. She was just passing by, dropping off a few things, and checking in on me. I appreciated the thought, but it still made me feel uneasy. I'm afraid of interacting with the opposite sex like this. Her staying outside eased my nerves a little. After a short conversation, she left, reminding me to stay safe and not to open the door for strangers. She invited me to spend New Year's with her, but I declined. No matter how close we were, I wasn't ready to get involved with someone else's family. Rachael didn't come back for the rest of the day. I didn't know what the property management did, but it was probably for the best. During the short break, I visited elderly homes and children's centers, met renowned professors, and explored impressive buildings from foreign lands. I learned many things I'd never known before. I realized I could live well without relying on others' protection. The world outside was vast and fascinating. When I first got married, I thought I had found my safe harbor, but through all those stormy days and nights, I was the one holding everything together. Now, away from that home, I saw a world filled with sunlight. The storms here were nothing compared to the ones I'd endured back there. 2 years passed quickly, and I graduated without trouble. The people I didn't want to see never appeared, and they didn't show up even in my dreams. After saying goodbye to my teacher and classmates, I began my journey back home. I didn't expect the person sitting next to me on the plane to be her. My teacher? Selena? Professor, what are you doing here? I hoped I was just overthinking things. Over the past 2 years, I had turned her down many times, and I hadn't told her my exact return date. I'm going home. Home? Yes, she replied. I'm originally from G-City. Even after moving away, I've always wanted to regain my citizenship. I remembered her mentioning 6 months ago that she was hopeful about her application, though I hadn't asked for updates. We chatted on and off during the flight, our conversations often broken by long silences. As the plane entered our country's airspace, she suddenly asked, "Nick, can I pursue you now?" I was half asleep and needed a moment to process her words. What did you say? I mean, now that I'm back in the country, can I pursue you? Selena, I'm grateful for your feelings, but I still feel the same. I'm not worthy. I'm divorced, and I care more about my career than marriage. You're amazing and deserve someone just as wonderful. Once again, I turned her down. The wounds from my 8-year marriage hadn't healed, and my fear of marriage still needed time. Back home, I returned to N-City. There, I fulfilled a childhood dream and opened a guest house. Growing up treated like a commodity, I'd always longed for a place of my own. Now I had one, a home where I could leave a light on for travelers.
In that warm glow, I saw the child version of myself. "Nick," I said silently, "thank you for being brave. Thank you for giving me today. We did it. We achieved our dreams." Carrying that resolve from childhood, I moved forward year after year. No marriage shackles, no emotional entanglements. I fulfilled my father's wishes for me.
Another winter arrived as I stepped once more onto the soil of G-City. I first visited my father's grave to tell him about my life. Then, quietly, I went to the school where Jenny was studying. Unfortunately, I didn't catch a glimpse of her until the very end. The bonds between people can be like that. Once they're worn out, even if you brush past each other, it's hard to truly meet again. In the end, as father and daughter, we drifted apart. I first met Nick 2 years after my breakup. He was only 17 then, but already handsome and upright, carrying the refined air of an intellectual family in every gesture. Because of preconceived notions and pressure from my father, I neither liked nor disliked him. Born into a wealthy family, both Nick and I felt we had no real choices. Over time, our routine interactions began to change, and my feelings grew complicated. I started caring about how he felt. I defended him for my father and protected him whenever I could. The way he looked at me changed, too. He wasn't timid anymore. When he was happy, he called me Rachael, sis. When he was angry, he used my full name. When I was 25, we got married, just as everyone expected. To make sure he didn't neglect his studies, I came up with all kinds of excuses to avoid family pressure about having kids. But then, unexpectedly, hope took root, and the following summer, Jenny was born. Later, I missed our child's 100-day celebration because of work, leaving Nick, naturally shy, to handle everything alone. I could imagine the harsh words he must have endured. Knowing I was wrong, I tried to make it up to him by spending more time with him and the child. But it seemed he no longer needed me. He was completely absorbed in the child, looking at me not with love, but with indifference, like a stranger. So I sent our child back to the old house, hoping Nick would focus more on me. I didn't expect that decision to change his attitude toward me so drastically. I reflected on myself and brought Jenny back, but by then she was spoiled. Used to the lax environment of the old house, she kept wanting to go back. Half a year ago, Alex returned to the country. Mutual friends threw a welcome party for him. It was the first time we'd met in years. We resisted hugging, but I couldn't stop wanting to see him. Maybe my behavior was too obvious because Nick asked for a divorce. Panicking, I lashed out at him. After that day, I cut ties with Alex, and Nick never mentioned divorce again. Our lives returned to normal. Until our anniversary. Alex suddenly said he was getting married and invited me to meet his fiancée. I agreed without much thought. When I arrived, I realized there was no fiancé. He had tricked me. As I stood to leave, Alex, drunk, hugged me from behind and confessed his love. He said he had never forgotten me. Maybe it was vanity, but I didn't push him away immediately. Still, when Nick's face flashed through my mind, I snapped back to reality and shoved Alex away. I was terrified to go home, afraid Nick would find out. So I lied, saying I had work and stayed late at the office drinking alone. When I finally got home in the middle of the night, I thought Nick would be asleep. I toe-tipped in and turned on the light, but there he was, asleep on the couch. We had been married 7 or 8 years, and he had waited up for me countless times. He told me he couldn't help me with work, but he hoped I would feel the warmth of family when I came home. I wished he would be more selfish and stop waiting for me, because I didn't deserve it. That thought only pushed him further away. Nick insisted on divorce. He was firm. He didn't want me or the kids anymore. The divorce went through smoothly. Nick moved out, taking only his personal belongings. Everything tied to the booths, he left behind. I thought he was just angry and would come back after some time, but he didn't. He flew to City N the very same day and stayed away for over 20 days. When I finally went after him, I learned he had gone to City X to pray for his father and grandparents. The altitude made me sick, and I said things that hurt him. Looking back, he must have been completely disappointed then. The next time I saw Nick was the day before he went abroad. He had just returned, and I was thrilled, until I heard he was leaving to study further. It turned out, since he mentioned divorce 6 months ago, he had been planning all of this. I tried to bring him back using our child, hoping for another chance.
I was wrong. From the moment he decided he didn't want me, he didn't want anyone connected to me either. If I was the executioner of his heart, Jenny was my accomplice. Together, we killed the Nick who once lived only for us. The next day, I went to Nick's hotel. I wanted to show him I had changed, to win him back. I was wrong again. He hated me too much to return to the booths. He stripped me of my last shred of dignity, listing every mistake I'd made over the years. I had nothing to say. I bought a plane ticket and followed him, watching him thrive in a world without me. I had lost a boy who once loved me. After Nick left, Jenny became a completely different person. She went from a chatterbox to a silent shadow. She wouldn't come near me or even call me Mom. I knew she blamed me for losing her father, for not being responsible, for failing to correct her attitude toward him. On New Year's Eve, we took her to the city where Nick was. We knocked, but he didn't open the door. He knew we were there and chose not to see us. Later, a graceful woman appeared. Nick's mentor, the youngest female professor at the business school. She looked at him with pure love. There was no fear or insecurity in him, only a shy, boyish smile. Nick had changed so much. In just a few months, he was like a small sun, radiating confidence. I didn't approach him. Instead, with tears streaming down her face, Jenny and I went home. She bit her lip, holding back sobs. That day, our relationship shattered completely. We were mother and daughter in name only. 2 years passed in a blink. That year, Nick returned with that woman by his side. They looked perfect together. Free from the booths, Nick was living the life I was never meant for. Back in the country, he had his own business, his own home, and a devoted partner. He no longer needed to rely on anyone. The young, lively heir of the Greens, the Booth's son-in-law, was gone. Now he was just Nick. No, more than that. A successful businessman, an investor, a B&B owner, a well-educated man. She moved south, I moved north. Our paths would never cross again. This time, it was truly over.